Welcome to another episode of Sam and Cathy, with yours truly, Sam and Cathy. Hey, Cathy.
It's very smartly titled.
Yep. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the best the most descriptive title would be, and something that gives people just a taste.
Clever.
Of what it's going to be. Of course, our producer Adrian is here too.
Hello, boss.
You can hear us every night, Monday through Friday, on Sirius XM on Sam Roberts Show. This is the companion podcast to that show. If you subscribe to this feed, then every Friday you get a segment that's, an hour or so long of what we do every night on Sirius XM. But this here show, Sam and Cathy, is a podcast exclusive that we do just for you. And it doesn't come without sacrifice. I was kind of figuring out, what are we going to talk about? Where are we going to start? Blah, blah, blah. And then just as we're getting into the studio, Cathy Kelley, who is new to New York, she's a West Coast transplant.
Gonna call me out for this?
Of course I am, because you deserve it. Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh.
We're driving around the city, because we tape in the city, looking for parking to try to avoid the parking lots, because they're more expensive.
They're like between $20 and $50 a pop.
Yeah, it depends on what street you're on. It's between $20 and $700, depending on what area of the city you find a spot to park in. If it's if you have to walk 3 blocks to get to any place, it's like $20.
Yeah.
If it's on the same block as the theater, it's $980.
They're like, this is 6-hour parking. You just have to give us your firstborn.
Right. And that's the way they do it, too. They post all the signs. For anybody who's never been to New York, don't read any signs outside of parking lots, because it's all scams. It's like $7 to park here.
If you're here before 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And you're only staying for 20 minutes.
See, I used to get them all the time when I was working in radio in the mornings, because it'd be like, in before 7 a.m., it's only $15 for the day. And I'd pull up at 5 a.m., open up, buddy! Time to get the deal. One guy was getting it. But most of the signs, they say it's $7 to park all day for a half hour. In little letters, it says for a half hour. So it's $7 for up to 30 minutes. And then between 30 minutes and 6 hours is $50. And you're like, I'm sure that there must be something in between, but they go, no. So I found a spot, because Sunday it's free. It's the Lord's Day, and the Lord does not collect his part. Although, with our luck, I'm sure I'm going to
Be towed.
Either be towed or have a ticket.
Well, that wouldn't be the first of us to get towed today.
Yep. But this is why the Lord is good, and everything happens for a reason, because she made this Cathy Kelley. Mm-hmm. I had the decency to drive her into this city.
Yes.
She made no less than, I would say, 4 snide comments at my parallel parking as it was happening.
You made the first, though. You're like, this guy's judging me. He's sitting on the corner and judging me.
Well, I exposed you to my vulnerabilities
Yes.
and my self-consciousness, because there was a guy that was just sitting on the curb right next to me parallel parking.
As Sam Austin Powers into the spot 20 times. Forward, reverse.
Yeah, but anyway, Adrian, I don't like people looking at me when I'm doing things. Like unless I know exactly what I'm doing, step 1, step 2, step 3, it might as well already be done. There's no way, there's no trial and error here. It's happening, It's done. Then, I don't care if there's 100,000 people there, fine, it doesn't matter. But if there's any sort of chance that anything I'm doing is going to be less than perfect, I would prefer people not be around.
You don't want anybody to
No, I don't want
that.
people looking. That's why I do radio. Because you could just assume nobody's looking, like you guys are in here doing with me. Mm-hmm. But the audience is imaginary, right? The audience will get there later, or is in another room, or is not. They're not
in another
looking
realm.
at me. Yes.
In another universe.
Right. They're not sitting there. Their eyes are not penetrating the back of my skull. So this guy is just sitting there watching me. At first, I turn in, and she's like, "Are you really gonna park head first?" It's like, "Look, Cathy, why don't you just talk about whatever's going on in your life and let me handle the parking?" And then she made her little Austin Powers joke as I was doing it, and she said at one point, maybe you want to pull out and start again." And by the way, I was parallel parking on the left side, which is even more difficult.
That's hard.
It is. It's not easy. They don't even do that on the driving test. You parallel park on the right side of the driving test.
Sometimes they don't even have parallel parking on the driving test anymore.
Well, Maryland outlawed it.
Millennials have it easy.
I saw that. And that, well, I'll finish. And by the way, perfectly parked. Perfectly.
But yeah, you were good, 9 inches from the curb.
That's what you're supposed to be. They say park 9 inches, right?
No, it was
it's about 9 inches, right?
No, not 9 inches from the curb. You were sticking out 9 inches past where the other cars were all lined up. Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true.
I don't believe it.
Can I tell you something? My parking was so well done, I didn't even fold my side mirror in, which you're supposed to do in New York, because I said, I'm so close to the curb, it won't make a difference.
Wow.
That's how good it was. But I did. I did. Okay, well, we'll talk about your parking in a second. Because, at least I'm going to stay in my spot because I know how to operate my vehicle. But...
my car's staying in impound now.
Yeah.
So.
Apparently, Cathy drives Herbie the love bug that just decides to go off on its own at times. But what you were saying about Maryland, that drives me crazy. That Maryland... We said that on the show on Sirius, right?
Yeah, it was about a week ago, I think.
That they have decided to take parallel parking off the driving test altogether because too many people were failing the driving test because they couldn't parallel park.
It's so ridiculous.
Which, you have to parallel park.
You don't have to.
In life?
Yeah, you do not have to if you drive your car from your house to your job and you have... parking that's not parallel.
You should know how to parallel
park. You should know how to parallel park. But you can avoid it. I know people that it was on the driving test when I was growing up, and I did it. I was fine with it. But
right.
I know people that had troubles with it, and then they just chose not to parallel park anywhere. They would walk an extra couple blocks so that they could, back into a spot or forward into a space.
They should have a bus pass then, because those people have no idea how to drive.
Yeah,
they don't have a clue. That's like my mother. She doesn't drive on the highways because it scares her.
Yeah, there are cars that parallel park for you. Yeah, I know people that don't drive on highways either.
You live in L.A.?
No, they were in Chicago.
Oh, because I was about to say, that would be impossible.
Your mom really never...
My mom does not drive on the highways. When I started, because I grew up in Westchester, and I still live there, but Westchester is a big county made up of many cities, so I don't live in the same city anymore.
Yeah.
But, we still know where everything is, and, when I started... dating and hanging out with girls that didn't necessarily grow up with me, they would show me how to get to places that were, unimaginably closer than I could have realized because I was so used to taking
the back roads.
Yeah. I would take side streets to go, and they'd be like, "Oh, we're going to Portchester." I'm like, "It's going to take an hour and a half." And they're like, "What? It's 15 minutes away." I go, "I beg to differ because I took quite a few trips there growing up, and I guarantee you, 90 minutes. I was incorrect. There were highways that brought us.
Bobby Roberts just wanted some quality time with you in the car.
I know. She lived in the city for a little while. She won't drive on the highway, and she won't go in the subway.
The subway?
Well, yeah, because she gets claustrophobic in the subway.
Oh my gosh.
And she gets worried on the highway. She'll go on the highway with another driver. I can drive her on the highway. Mm-hmm. But if it's if it's going to be highway driving, it can't be her. And my dad is a maniac behind the wheel.
Is he?
Yeah, he's insane.
I love your parents.
So I can't my dad is the guy who decides to drive, the entire way. And we could be on a 9-hour road trip. And the entire way, no more than 6 inches between him and the car in front of him. The whole time. He's a lunatic. And
that
he just
scares the crap out of me.
Switching back and forth.
Driving with people like that.
Yeah. But my mom is so petrified of herself driving on the highway that she has my dad drive. Which to me is like when I see my dad driving, I'm like, you know what, Dad? Why don't you let me take the wheel? Why don't you let Sam go ahead? Well, I'll drive both of us. Get in my car. Yeah, get in the Jeep. Get in the Jeep. Come on, Dad. Come on. It'll be a bonding experience. And I say that because we'll survive. Because I can't guarantee that. But yeah, it is terrifying to do that. But that said, I think you should have, if you went to driver's ed and you were like, yeah, no, I'm going to skip the days that we go on the highway and learn how to highway drive because I'm not going to do that.
Don't need to.
they'd probably say, well, you failed driver's ed then.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Clueless when Cher gets on the highway. Like when they get on the highway and she's terrified. Like, ah!
Honey, as far as you're concerned, I'm the Messiah. Because she's driving in her Jeep just slamming into everybody. That's probably what my mom would do. But yeah, that Maryland, because yeah, for the same reason of you should fail driver's ed if you don't drive on the highway. Like, I think you have to know the basics to be a driver, which includes highway driving.
Yeah.
And parallel parking. I understand you can avoid it, but you can also avoid, like, you could avoid making left turns. If you don't like making left turns, you could just
make
3 rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes you not a driver, I think. That's somebody who doesn't know how to do what it is that they're supposed to do. And this whole idea, and it is very millennial, of taking something off the test because too many people are failing it is like, no, that's not a... So, because nobody knows how to do it means like, all right, I'm going to give up on trying to get people to learn it.
Let's make it easy.
Let's
They're
make
probably
it easy.
like, the DMV is so crowded already. We don't want these kids coming back 6 times because they can't parallel park.
Or they weren't making enough money on, like, people having to refresh their licenses or whatever. Because no licenses are being... Like, our the fee that we gain from handing out driver's licenses is going down. Why is that? Because none of these idiot kids know how to parallel park. Take it off the test. Like, I can't... It's like adjusting school classes. Like, I wasn't good at math, but at no point did I say, you know, I'm not good at math. Obviously, the school needs to do away with the math altogether.
The whole curriculum.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, I don't think I need it. And that's the same thing. You're like, well, I'm going to avoid parallel parking. All right, well, I'm going to have somebody add my numbers for me, but I still should know the basics, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just... I've never understood, and that's also the participation trophy culture of just kind of making sure that we don't have that. There shouldn't be that many people failing. Well, maybe there should, and couldn't they just put ads on TV? Dear parents, please teach your kids how to parallel park. Like, just do it, or. Everybody fails. If everybody, eventually they'll be like, you know, a lot of us are failing. We need to learn how to do this.
I have the ultimate road rage, though. Like, if someone doesn't use their turn signal or something, I just want to, like, punch them in the face.
What if it doesn't even... Now, is that only if it affects you? Or if you just see them not using their turn signal?
I mean, it's one of those things if, like, we're at an intersection and you slam on your brakes because you're going to turn, but you didn't put on your turn signal, that screws up a bunch of drivers.
Right.
Not just me, but, like...
Do you curse?
No. I've done
Me
this
neither.
thing where... I think that this is super PC. I just mumble under my breath, I hope you die, because everyone dies eventually. I'm not saying specifically like next week. I'm just saying like, you know, like somewhere between like the next 1 and 100 years, I hope you die.
Right,
Like,
right.
I hope that you are not an invincible person.
Yeah, good. Let them have it. You know, I hope at some point before the world ends, you end.
Just
Good.
be a little more considerate.
Yeah. Let them have it. I get rageful like that, but I don't know what to do with my anger. You know, I've talked about on the show before how, especially lately, I just get stressed out within. I mean, I have a hair trigger. Like,
Yes, you do.
all the stress just comes. It's either I'm fine or every single bit of stress like comes out. You've removed the paper that was blocking everything, and now everything's just going to pour out. So I end up with all this anger, and I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, because I feel like I've been wronged, and the person who wronged me, there needs to be justice.
Yes.
And there's no justice. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's the same way when I'm sitting there. That's why I get so mad when I feel like people who I'm depending on to do their jobs to help me, whether it's, I mean, I'm not even talking about like Adrian, I'm talking about like a waiter. I'm talking about anyone, a toll booth worker.
The guy at the pizza shop.
The guy at the pizza shop. I'm like, I'm depending on you. Like, I don't have an hour to sit around.
And wait for a pizza.
I don't. It doesn't take that long to make.
We need teleportation.
Yes.
That
Yes.
needs to happen.
Because I get rage, but then at the same time, I'm very against self-driving cars, which would probably speed things up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And would probably get
I mean,
rid of.
there are cars that can parallel park for you now.
Yeah, that's true. Are they good? Have you tried them?
I haven't tried them, but they look good in the commercial.
That's true. And you know what?
They do.
They wouldn't make it look good in the commercial if it wasn't good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's the beginning of a road I don't want to go down. No pun intended. You know, I feel like it really is something people should know, at least the basics of how to do. I may not be the greatest parallel parker in the world, but I got there. You know, I was there. And I don't know, that seems like one of those things that if you allow the car to parallel park for you, the next step is to allow it to take over on the highway. Like cruise control, but to the next level where it can figure out where to turn and stuff like that. And then the next thing is, back roads. And then all of a sudden you got self-driving cars, and all of a sudden people are out of work, and all of a sudden, what's happened? The robots have taken over. It's very.
I had a feeling that's where we were going.
Well, that's where all this stuff leads to.
Yeah.
I mean, the more abilities you give up and just give to technology, the more likely it is that technology is going to come back and bite you on the ass.
Robots, specifically.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where the technology would be, in robots. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying they're going to look like iRobot robots, but
Probably.
they could. I mean, I don't know what they'll look like. But as all this is happening, as Cathy Kelley is sitting there saying that I don't know how to parallel park,
Yes.
Did you parallel park at my place?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfectly, might I?
Apparently not, because she parallel parked at my place. We drive into the city, and then we get here, and she's listening to a voicemail and just looking at me going, "Oh, shit. Oh, no." Oh, and I was like, "Oh, my gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
Did a loved one die? Did your apartment get broken into? Did some..." And she goes, so apparently, my car rolled into traffic by your house, and it's been impounded by the police." I was like, "What? Your car's in the custody of the Westchester Police Department?"
Yes, I actually just got another call from the Bronxville police, or Bronxville, New York. So apparently what happened is your apartment complex is on a hill, or back in the back.
Sure,
there's
it's
a
on an
hill.
incline, yeah.
And I have a stick shift car.
Mm-hmm.
And usually...
Which, by the way, in 2016 is so braggadocious. But go on. I can drive a stick shift.
Well,
Ooh.
I think it's kind of badass.
Well, yeah, obviously it's
It's pretty
badass.
cool.
Drive a stick shift in heels. How many guys can do that?
I bet I could pull it off.
I'll put on a pair of
And
heels.
your calves would look amazing.
Exactly. My pumps.
So
Pumps in a stick. That's me.
I'd love to see you with pumps.
for stick shift cars, you have to either keep it in gear,
Yeah.
or you pull up the parking brake. And I usually just pull up the parking brake. Well, this new car, which I got from CarMax, and the worst experience of my life buying
Oh.
a car. They almost didn't let me buy a car.
See, that's weird because they make it look so good on the commercial.
Yeah. And then just having so many problems with it, like the glass is cracked, and they said that they would send someone out and didn't. And I waited there for 12 hours. Like little things like that.
What?
Oh yeah, that's another story. I told you all the horrible things that happened. Like it took 2 weeks to finally get the car because they had to have a. Anyways,
It probably took
That's a whole
Cathy
nother
a
podcast.
solid month to purchase the car.
yeah.
Like, you know how most...
When it
you-
said it would take 2 to 3 days for them to transfer it from another place.
What's weird, like you see, like the stereotype of a car dealer, right, is somebody who's just trying to make a deal at any cost
Very
and will
fast,
just sit
yeah.
there and like just try to worm his way into you handing over the money, and now the car's yours and it's out of his hands. I had never seen a company try so hard to not sell a car as CarMax did
Yeah.
for you.
It was just like a kid that was definitely right out of school trying to sell this car. Like they transferred the car, and then I found out that it was there sitting on the lot for 3 days because he was off those days, so he didn't call me and tell me that it was in because he wanted the commission as opposed to splitting it with someone else. Like all these things. When I just moved to the state, then I finally, after a week, go to the place. I drive, 50 minutes in an Uber to get to this CarMax, and only to learn that there's a Connecticut state law that says you have to have your driver's license to purchase a car in the state of Connecticut, when I could have done that in the 7 days that I was waiting for a car and had to pay for a rental car.
And Cathy looked like the scene of the Wedding Singer when he goes, oh, information I could have used yesterday.
Meanwhile, working like 80 hours a week at a new job and all hours that CarMax is open, so like I can't go there in their off hours.
Which, by the way, this is just another example of like that kid is the type of kid that like, well, he was on his days off, so he didn't get in touch with you, is the same kid that was like, well, I think parallel parking shouldn't be on the driving test because I keep failing it. And like, well, I'm off, so.
All in all, it ended up being, I was so pissed off at this kid, and he like clearly didn't want to do anything, so someone else ended up selling me the car anyways. But like, it took 3 weeks to get the car, and then a whole nother mess to actually get it registered because they messed up the paperwork.
Did you get any money off?
No, because CarMax is a straight, like, they were just like, oh, we're so sorry. They apologized profusely, but they did nothing to rectify the situation. And
then there was also, like, at one point, I remember you telling me that she goes, like, this is insane. The procedure that this has been. And they go, okay, no problem. Because at first, she was renting the car because she couldn't buy it, and it was a whole thing. And she goes up to him and she goes, this whole thing is insane. Like, this is what I've had to go through for this. And the supervisor, whoever goes, miss, that is totally unacceptable. Here's what we're going to do. You don't have to come back here. We're going to send somebody down to you
to
fill out the paperwork. No problem. Nobody comes down. And a week later, Cathy gets a phone call that says, look, you know.
We're going to have to report the car stolen.
Because you didn't pay for it. Because you didn't fill out the paperwork. And Cathy's like, you were supposed to come to me. Yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Meanwhile, I went to CarMax because I didn't want to have to haggle with anyone because I know that car dealerships are just so awful to women where they try to upcharge them. So I was trying to do this to be easier, and meanwhile, it was just one of the worst situations I had to deal with.
Next time, just let somebody call you sweetheart and upcharge you. Just deal with it.
One of the problems with this car, it's a 2011. And, you know, like with a used car, you'll have a couple problems, which I kind of knew going into it. But one of the problems is that the parking brake, you have to pull it like all the way up to the point where like you feel like you're about to break it off.
Yeah.
And if you're on any sort of incline, like it'll just move. And so I park at Sam's place. And I pull up the parking brake, and I was sitting there for a minute while I was waiting for my phone to charge because I know it takes him 12 minutes to get downstairs anyways. So I text him that I'm here.
The best things are worth waiting for.
And I put on the parking brake, and I'm sitting there for a couple seconds. So I know I put the parking brake on because I wasn't, like, didn't have my feet on the brake or anything. And it's fine. And turn off the car, go up to wait for Sam, and you know, we come here, it takes an hour for us to drive here, and the second we get to the office, I get a missed call from Bronxville, New York, and they say, hello, ma'am, we have impounded your vehicle because it rolled into traffic on this, like, 14-degree incline. It's okay, but know that it's in impound right now. And so I called the guy back and I was like, what's going on? And he's just like, well, he's like, it looks like your parking brake wasn't pulled high enough and you didn't turn your wheels into the curb so that if it had rolled, it would have rolled into the curb as opposed to into oncoming traffic.
Would you know to do that? To tilt the wheels?
That actually is on your driver's test. And that's something,
What?
That was my bad. Yeah. That was my bad.
That's news to me.
I mean, I don't do that shit.
Yeah. I mean, I park in a garage, so.
But I thought that, you know, putting on a parking brake would be enough.
Well, that's why it's there, generally.
Yeah.
Generally. You definitely put the parking brake on?
Yeah. So now this little trip is going to cost a couple $100. That's completely my fault.
Yeah, wow. Wow, what? It's not completely your fault because you didn't turn the wheels?
I mean, yeah, that is something that I should have done.
I guess.
Or I should have, in the past 2 weeks when I knew that the parking brake was messed up, gone to CarMax. I just had a little trip to Dallas, so I couldn't.
Yeah, it's just WrestleMania. Look at the difference, though. The difference between being like, you know what? In hindsight, I should have tilted the wheel versus, well, it's not really my fault because blah, blah, blah. Like,
Well, I just hate being one of those people that complains about,
Yeah.
like, a company or whatever when realizing, like, this is something that, like, I could have prevented.
right.
So, like, I do take responsibility for it. It just sucks. It's a shitty situation.
It didn't have to be so difficult buying the car, but you can't blame that experience for the fact that it Herbie the Love bugged its way into oncoming traffic.
Shitty call to get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good.
Well, we also had, like, awful... Going back to when I was purchasing a car, I had, like, 2 or 3 cars in mind that I wanted to buy because I wanted something that had 4-wheel drive, something that was a stick shift.
Yeah.
And had good gas mileage. And the first car we go to look at was, I think it was a Honda, I don't know, something.
Oh, yeah.
So we get to the car dealership and they don't have any on the lot. And we're like, well, why don't you have any? Like, that's very weird. They're like, well, we have one, but it's not a stick shift. Do you want to drive that? And then they go and look, like, they're going to put in my information so we can test drive it. They're like, actually, this car has been recalled. We can't let you test drive it. But
Yeah.
you can look into purchasing it at a later date. And I was
Yeah.
like, no.
As it turns out, the brakes don't work on it or something like that. Like something very key that you would need
Yeah, brakes
are
to
important.
drive.
For a
Yeah,
car.
one of those things like that. Yeah.
Cute, though. It looked like a stormtrooper.
And that was the goal, finding you a stormtrooper car. But
And
that
I
was
have a Mini Cooper that doesn't park either. So
that was
But at least it's cute.
it is.
it is cute. Well, I guess it's cute. It's in an impound lot right now. It's like the pretty girl in prison. It's like if I went to jail. Yeah. Everybody's just eyeing me up.
Don't drop the soap.
Yeah, but that's that same place, and it's amazing. Because that's what gets me frustrated is the lack of pride people take in what they do. Like that was the same dealership we go to, and we're like, oh yeah, we're here to drive this car, and they're like, yeah, we don't have one. And it's like, oh, and they're like, what? Did it say on the website that we have one?
Yes.
And we go, yes, it did. And the guy goes, yeah, I don't know what's on that website. And it's not like it's a general website for the company. It's a specific dealership-specific website.
Yeah.
that you can search specific models, see
Right.
what kind of...
Like there's an inventory check on the website. It has nothing to do with what's actually going on at the dealership. He's like, yeah, I don't know what's on that website.
Which is
Beats
just funny
me.
because, like, if you sell maybe... a dealership maybe sells, like, between 2 and 10 cars a day.
That's fair.
Okay. So just pressing one little button on the website, this car's been sold.
Right. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh my God, we have so much to make up for. You could literally not touch it for a month and it would take you 25 minutes to update the inventory of worth a month of stuff, let alone just doing it like, oh, I sold one car. You're not selling more than one car an hour, right? Like if you sold a car an hour for a day, that would be an incredibly successful day at the dealership.
But you know what?
What?
They have enough time to call your phone and leave you 6 voice messages a day.
Well, that's what I was trying to help Cathy, find a deal on the car. And they were just like, I did it through a company or whatever. And it's like, phone number and email. And I was like, no problemo. And put them in. They're still calling me, asking me if I want cars. It's just a huge mistake. Huge mistake. What was when you first started driving, did you have any experiences where you were like, you didn't know? Like, for instance, that thing about tilting the wheels. Like,
You didn't know that.
no, today
Okay.
is the first time I've learned that. Did you have anything that's like pretty basic information that you had to learn the difficult way?
I mean, honestly, I took driver's ed and we had cars there that were automatic, but I learned on a manual, like my mom's manual car. So it was terrifying when there was any sort of incline to start going, like if you were in a stop at an incline to start going again, like I would be terrified if there was any car behind me that I would roll
Yeah.
back into
Yeah.
them.
There are these hills in San Diego that like they're super, super steep.
Well,
I
I
remember
didn't have that. That was like a 5-degree incline at a stop sign. Just terrified.
But I remember, having that same feeling. This is like only a couple years ago, and I was in an automatic car, but it would still like roll back slightly. But the hill was so steep, it was crazy. Did you, Adrian, have any difficulties in learning how to
Drive?
function as a driver?
No, because I started driving, like, me and my friends, when I was like 15, we were sneaking our cars out and driving around town.
What? It's
So-
illegal.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
So, I mean, I don't know. I think the most difficult part of it was probably learning to parallel park, but I got that pretty fast.
Do you know how to change a tire?
Yes.
You do?
There was like a 3-month span. I used to drive a beat up truck.
Oh.
And there was like a 3-month span where I had to change a tire like 7 times.
Well, practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you know how to change a tire, Kathy? Theoretically, or
I mean, I've helped my mom do it before, but I've never done it solo.
Fairly simple.
She's a badass. Like she can do it. She can change a tire faster than the guys at the car service place can change a tire.
So if your mom rolled a flat tire, she would just change it herself? She wouldn't call like AAA or anything?
There was I specifically remember one time I was on my way to preschool. My mom got a flat tire like 2 blocks from our house. She changed it in like 12 minutes by herself.
Wow.
Like she's awesome.
Wow.
She had like jack and like she just did it.
Yeah, I remember, and this is a story that's been told before, but when I was like, I must have been 24-ish when I rolled a flat tire on the way to work, and it completely blew out, and I didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, I have no idea how to change this tire. So I pulled over at a gas station, and we were in the Bronx. It was on like the Major Deegan is the road it was on. And so I pulled over in this gas station, and they had like a Dunkin' Donuts, but it wasn't like a big store. And they closed the store at night, but there was an attendant in there with like a glass window thing. Like he wasn't coming out for anything because it's probably 4:30 in the morning, and it's the Bronx. And he's like, nope, this is bulletproof glass. There's a little drawer here that you slide your money through if you need to. But other than that, I won't be coming out. And so I got out of the car and I walked over to him. And I was like, oh, I just rolled a flat. Is there anything you can do to help? No. And he shut the thing. I was like, okay.
No.
Yeah, no. And so I was like, oh, I wonder what I do here. Because I just had no experience with it. And so I called AAA, and they said, well, the first operator I talked to was like, well, that's a private road. And I go, okay. I was like, whatever.
So they couldn't come.
And they were like, yeah, so we don't have any trucks on that road.
Because it's technically owned by the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay, then what are we going to do here? Yeah, I don't know. What? Like, this is the whole your service. This is the only thing you provide for me.
That's how the turnpike is in Jersey.
Right. And they're like, yeah, that's what it is. What am I going to do, right? And I'm like, I don't know. What am I going to do?
Good luck.
Yeah, that's what they said. Good luck. And I was like, And I called my dad at home. 4:30 in the morning, I woke him up and I go, look, Dad, I'm going to try to figure this out, but this is the position I'm in. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. And he said, maybe call 311. You know, that's the phone number you're supposed to call if you see homeless people in the snow. You call 311. It's like, I think this guy's freezing to death, and then it's in the city, and they go and they put him in a shelter or something. So I called 311, and they're like, yeah, we don't really change tires. It's not what we do here. So I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, we're not going to change your tire for you. I was like, oh, all right. I mean, in hindsight, that's a pretty reasonable response to my request. And so I hung up with them, and I was like, this is kind of an emergency. What do you do in an emergency? Take out my phone, 911.
Oh, no.
And I called 911.
For a flat tire.
Yeah, and I was like, they were like, hello, 911, what's your emergency? And I go, well, I don't know if it's the biggest emergency. This is what I said. But I'm on the Major Deegan with a flat tire, and I'm not getting a lot of help from AAA. And they go, okay, sir, that is not an emergency.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I know, but I just don't know what to do here. Like I was calling an advice hotline or something. And they
Delilah.
Were like, yeah, exactly. I was calling Delilah. And they were like, well, here's what we're going to do. Just call here for emergencies, and we'll help you with that, but this is not an emergency. So I was like, oh, okay. all right, goodbye. And I hung up. And then, like, I ended up, I was sitting there for a while trying to figure it out. I called AAA back a couple times. Finally, I got an operator, and they were like, yeah, it's a private road, so we'll just call the truck that's on it. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's a private road, so there's only one truck that's on it, so we'll just call that truck. And I was like, well, you could have saved me a lot of embarrassing phone calls if the guy, 45 minutes ago had said that. Yeah. Oh, I don't know who that was, but yeah, we'll call him. And they just called the truck. The AAA just called the truck and had the guy come. And everything was fine, but then, I had to live for the rest of my life as somebody who had called 911 to change a tire. Also, people acted like changing a tire was just something that's supposed to be second nature. But, I mean, I don't think so. Not anymore.
It's fairly simple.
I'm not going to say it's difficult.
Now, I feel like if I didn't have AAA and I, had a tire that needed changing, I would just go to YouTube and, figure out how to do it,
That's true. That's true. This would have been, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago.
But that's one of the beautiful things about the time that we live in is that you can learn anything.
On YouTube.
I don't even have to call someone like my mom or text a friend to ask. I can just YouTube it and it'll be just as fast.
It saves a lot of embarrassment. I learned how to tie a tie via YouTube, and now I don't even need YouTube when I put a tie on. Isn't that impressive?
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. When the guy came to change the tire, he was like, all right, where's your jack? And I was like, I don't think I have one. And it was like, remember the Jimmy Fallon skit on SNL when he was the IT guy? And he would go, move, and just go and fix it and be all... The tow truck guy goes, move. And he just walks over to the passenger side of my car, opens the door, pulls the seat forward. He's like, that's your jack. And he pulls I was like, oh, look at that. It's hidden over there behind the seat. Who knew? Who knew? But yeah, I wish at that moment, I'm pretty sure YouTube wasn't nearly as accessible when I was 24 as it is now.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's when I was in high school 8 years ago.
Right.
And it was not like that.
Because now it's like, now when people, it's true, when people say, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, I'm like, well, did you YouTube it? Mm-hmm. It's very, very simple. Everything. Literally everything. Like I've had weird bits of software or whatever on my computer that I'm trying to figure out how to use or what the glitch is. And somebody's just made a YouTube video. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's got 90,000 views on it. They're all super successful. If I knew how to do anything, it'd be a great business to be in. But are you worried at all about your vehicle? Or are you now it's in safekeeping?
I mean, slightly, but at the same time, there's really nothing I can do about it until we get there.
Right. We have
a podcast. That's important.
That's super important, yeah. It's not like you could just tape these anytime.
Excuse me, officer. I have a podcast to tape, and then I'll be there.
It's on SoundCloud and iTunes. So 5-star reviews if you want. Yeah. I would... at least it's in the thing, locked away, impounded. Now, when stuff like this happens,
yes,
do you feel are you one of those people that's like, okay, things are too good for me right now, so the universe had to do something to fuck up my day? Or is it just, this stuff just happens?
I feel like this stuff just happens to me. I mean,
only
we talked
you.
About this before. No, I just feel like I'm Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong at some point.
Yeah, I mean, big picture, things are going very well for you right now. So do you think? Do you think that it makes it so that Murphy's Law applies even greater? Maybe that's how I maintain my sanity. When the little annoying things happen, or when just shitty stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Or, I get tickets all the time. I can't stop getting speeding tickets or parking tickets, whatever. I get tons of tickets. But I go, you know what? Other things in my life aren't that bad. If I've been cast as the person who gets tickets for literally everything I've ever done, so be it. It helps me maintain my sanity as opposed to being like, look at all these people that are speeding freely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that what you...
I mean, I would think if, karma was a real thing, I have great things going on in my life right now because I had awful things going on in my life when I was younger.
Right.
But, so now I just have some minorly awful things that happen.
Plus, I think karma might work that first way where it's like an It Gets Better commercial.
Yeah.
But I don't think karma works in the way that if good things are happening to you, karma will make sure some bad stuff happens. Just
little
because.
shitty things.
Yeah. Oh, having a good time.
know.
Hey, Kathy, smiling over there, huh? Why don't we make that mouth straight again? Let's no curves. No curves. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that karma will it's supposed to help you out. Or if you do bad things, then bad things happen to you. But I don't think bad things happen to you just because you're doing well.
I mean, like, it's just very odd that I don't blame, like, that I have great things going in my life, so obviously my car has to get impounded. Or, like, I can't get into my apartment because my keys don't work because they didn't make me the right key. Like, those kind of things.
Right. It's just the struggle.
Yeah.
You need the struggle. You're blessed to have the struggle. Oh, my gosh. It's so... Yeah, I guess it would probably be overthinking it to sit there and be like, oh, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Well, because my car rolled into the street. That's why it's happening.
The first week that I moved into this apartment complex, which I moved into because it was supposed to be like one of the, it has a doorman, like whatever else.
Yeah.
I had to, in order to move in, you have to pay like a one-time move-in fee of like $200. And
which is insane. I mean, why?
I don't know.
Like just
It's like service fees.
Yeah,
just like an extra couple.
So they can like do the elevator up so that you don't scratch it.
It's like
up,
a convenience
whatever.
fee.
Right.
I don't know.
It's $200 to throw the blankets up it's the same blankets. You're not buying new blankets.
Anyways, I had to pay this move-in fee, and you had to pay it with a check. Like you couldn't do credit card, check or cash. And so I get new checks sent to my mailbox. Well, I can't get my mail key until I pay the thing. So my
so
freaking
shitty.
checks are sitting in the mailbox, but I can't get a mail key until I have the check. So
Right.
what do you want me to do? Apartment complex?
Yeah.
Did you explain that to them?
Yes.
Did they open the mailbox?
Finally.
Okay.
Well, no, it got to the point where there was so much mail in the mailbox that they had to keep it elsewhere, and so they had to take it out. And I was like, okay, can you give me my checks now so I can pay for the freaking mail key?
It's just so funny, like all these little things that like nobody ever takes into account. Because Kathy moved from the West Coast to the East Coast literally by herself.
In 51 hours.
Right. Like no supports, no relatives here. No like I'm your closest friend here. And I'm not going to fucking worry about your apartment for you. You know what I mean? You got that.
Yeah. She's been my rock through this whole thing. Oh, you need someone to help decorate? I'll do that.
Right. Whereas you come to me and I'm like, we should watch more wrestling. We need to get you up to speed on this.
I've always said, I'm like, I need a housewife or a house husband. Can I just borrow Jess for a week?
Right. We should figure out some kind of sister wife situation with Jess where we just trade her from place to place. But yeah, I mean, I guess you don't realize how daunting it is to move just like that without an actual support system or anything. Like usually there's some kind of family or friend or somebody there that's like, okay. And I guess you could, if you needed to, you could send checks to my place.
Even the moving company that I had, they were highly rated on Yelp, but just awful. Like they had a move-in date. I was supposed to move in, the move-in date was the day that I got here, and they had a week span of when they could potentially move you in. They decided to choose Sundays, which is the only day that my building doesn't allow move-ins. So I had to pay an extra fee to have them move in.
Perfect.
And then they had like 6 guys when I was packing everything, but then when I got here, they only had the truck driver and one guy that they hired off of Craigslist, which I found out because I was talking to him. He brings up one of the boxes to my apartment, and he's like, "Where do you want this?" Shakes the box, and he goes, "It sounds like a lamp." I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that's why last time I moved, I got 2 guys with a van, and that was like, it wasn't even, they weren't moving, just 2 kids with a van, and just paid them like, I don't know, a couple $100, and just said, just put all our shit in your van and then move it. And like, they did not do a good job, but all of our stuff was shitty, so I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like they picked up our TV stand, but it was from Target, so it had the pegs and the glue and everything, and they pick it up by the top, the whole thing just collapsed.
Fell apart.
Aww.
I was like, well, that's it for the TV stand. And then they're moving the couch up, and they put it down in our apartment, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, there's a hole in the back. There's holes in the side now. Those definitely weren't there before. But I was like, well, that just means we're going to put a table there. Like, we just have to put things to block where the holes are because I didn't want to have to deal with anything. Plus, everything was cheap, so it's not like, what am I going to sue you for the $78 that the couch is worth? You know what I mean? But yeah. I can't imagine what a pain in the ass it must have been to... You'd think with real movers, especially coast-to-coast movers.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
$4,000?
Yeah, that's how much a move costs across the country.
Like, I guess, you don't think about the fact that they have to drive a truck from California to New York.
It was $3,000, and then because I'm a woman, they tried to upcharge me another $1,800.
Did they?
Yeah, and I talked them down, but...
I can't imagine moving coast to
the
coast.
day of, they call me, like, after they had already packed. They're just like, they had like a couple boxes left, so all my stuff's on their truck, and they're like, yeah, since you had more stuff than anticipated, you added on, 10 more boxes. And I was like, and I also took off an entire dining set and a coffee table and like things that I didn't move, so it's actually less stuff.
Yeah, we should pretty much be even Stevens. Are we square? Are we square? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You must have learned that from your mom, though.
What? That I shouldn't have to pay more than...
Being a forceful person.
I was quoted?
Yeah, being a forceful person. Some people would be like, oh, okay, whatever you say. Whatever you say.
I just think it's crazy that they take advantage of women like that. I know that it was only because I was a woman.
You think so?
Yeah, it was 100%.
You think if it had been like what about like a wimpy dude? It doesn't really stand up for himself.
I mean, maybe, but it was one of those situations where I had 2 boxes of like things in my kitchen that I hadn't packed yet, and the guy comes in and he goes, and I was like literally packing them as they walk in the morning, and he's just like, oh, you don't have to do that. He's like, I can pack that for you. Like, we're professional movers. Like, I have all the stuff. And I was like, well, I can do it. It'll take, half an hour while you're moving the other things. It'll be done. He's like, no, don't worry about it at all. He's like, that's what we're here for. Just sit down. That was part of the, like, they charged me wanted to charge me $300 because he packed 2 of my boxes.
Oh, because he's like, I got this.
And I was like, no, the way that he phrased it, I stood up for myself. I was like, the way he phrased it, he never said that this was going to cost more money. Had he said that, I would have done it myself.
Right.
But he didn't tell me that before. And then on top of that, I find out the next day after they had already left that he forgot one of the drawers. So he had, like, I had to take another suitcase, which I checked on the plane, of stuff that he forgot to pack. Which I wouldn't have done.
Yeah, and costs money now.
Yeah.
It's because you have to pay for every single bag. I would love to see you take this.
I'm complaining a ton.
Well, I would love to see you take this to Judge Marilyn Milian on the People's Court.
But that would cost me time, which is more valuable than money.
That's true. I love the People's Court. I'll watch that show every day.
Show.
It is a good show,
I
right?
like it.
A lot of disputes are settled.
Yeah.
A lot of stupid ones, too. I like the episodes where people go in, obviously in the wrong, and it's like, what's the argument here?
What are you doing?
Yeah, why?
Why are you on TV?
Yeah.
Idiot.
You should not have accepted this. But I think the reason that they do the People's Court is because the TV company pays for your settlement. So, like, if the Judge Marilyn Milian decides, you owe him $2,000, the TV company's paying for it. You don't actually have to pay for it. So these guys, I think, are like, look, we'll probably lose in court, so we'll go on the People's Court, not realizing that you should have just paid the $2,000 because now everybody in America thinks that you're a fool. You know what I mean? Like, it's really damaging to your character.
Everybody's making fun of you.
Yeah. Did you, when you were moving, especially since it was from coast to coast, like Adrian was just saying he couldn't imagine.
When I moved into my apartment in Hoboken,
yeah,
the house my mom's house is 40 minutes away from there. And that was the most miserable weekend I've had.
Moving is the worst thing you could ever do.
I also did it myself, though. Like, I moved just me. Like, no.
Well, wait until you start getting older and actually collect stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only serious, like, I had to move a couch, and to do that, I just got one of my friends and I bought a case of beer and dinner for him. Yeah,
I mean, it was a long time. People know I used to have Eric Nagel's old TV, and it was like 50. It was probably 100 pounds.
Eric gave you a TV?
Oh yeah, he gave me his old TV.
What a sweetheart!
I know. He's a big sweet guy.
Big.
Yeah, but so it was a long time before I had a flat screen like that. The TV I had a big tube TV until I left my old apartment. I just left it there.
Yeah.
And I left it there with the screen pointing down, as if to say, like, you know, this is it for it. Like, I just left the TV in the apartment. Did you? I've moved 3 times. And when I move, I start wanting to get, even when I clean.
Yeah.
I get manic and start wanting to remove myself of all worldly possessions. Yeah. I'm kind of, in day-to-day life, I collect. Like, I like things. But then when it comes time to clean or move, I'm like, my things are burying me as a person.
It frustrates you.
Yeah, I need to get rid of everything.
Yeah.
I can't have anything anymore. I wear a different pair of sneakers every day. Except then when it's time to clean, I'm like, I don't need all these things.
Yeah.
Did you want to just get rid of everything? Did you ever think about doing that? Because you could have.
I could have, and
I mean, for $4,000, you probably could have rebought everything.
I was actually thinking that afterwards. The times that I've moved in the past, I moved from Chicago to Des Moines, which was an easy move because it was like dorm room, so I didn't have much stuff.
Right.
I just had clothes. I could fit it all in a car. Moved to Des Moines, got new furniture, and then when I was there, it was cheaper furniture because I knew I wasn't going to be there forever, and I was still, 22, 23. So I sold it all on Craigslist.
Right.
Or actually, I sold it to my roommate because she was buying a house. And then, so I made the move with one car and a couple shipped boxes from Des Moines to California.
Right.
And I bought stuff there. It wasn't until, like, this last place in Santa Monica, I bought, like, adult furniture from West Elm and wherever else. Because I was like, this is where I'm going to live the next 5 to 10 years, like,
for the foreseeable.
I was like, until I like get married or whatever, like, I'm going to live in this place, like,
because you're pursuing a career in entertainment and hosting, so you're thinking Santa Monica is probably
down, and
I love that. I finally settled down to a nice, sensible career in show business.
But like, I was very happy with that spot. I had a lot of space. You and Jess saw it.
Mm-hmm. It was great. She had like a townhouse.
Yeah. And then I get this job, and I've always been like the type where I'll move wherever the job is because that's, like.
But you were in Santa Monica thinking this is the center, because generally speaking, there's not a huge amount of entertainment hosting jobs in, say, Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah. But I've been pursuing this for a couple years, and when offered the job, and told that I should be moving to Stanford, I took it. And I knew I had to downsize a lot, so I got rid of a ton of stuff. Like, I gave so much stuff to Goodwill. I sold a lot of stuff on Craigslist.
She used to wear wrestling T-shirts everywhere. She got rid of all her wrestling T-shirts.
I did not.
Because she didn't want people realizing that that's what she used to do, just walking around everywhere in like Roman Reigns T-shirts.
I have 3 wrestling T-shirts. I have one from the very first live event that I did for WWE a couple years ago. I have one from the Performance Center that my friend gave me when he started working there. Mm-hmm. And then I have one Mankind shirt that I love because it says, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And it's a
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
What a mark.
3 shirts.
Yes.
But yeah, I downsized a ton of stuff. I brought my bed because I love my bed. I had to get rid of my dining set and a bunch of other stuff. Kept my couch because it was a custom couch. And then I should have gotten rid of so much more because my kitchen is so tiny.
It is?
It's sad, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a kitchenette.
It's
Is that what you would refer to it as? That's a proper name for it?
a microscopic
Yeah.
kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't have enough room for anything.
Well, you're lucky that you moved to Stanford instead of New York. Like, in New York, you would have had absolutely no space for anything.
Honestly, I think that the space that I have in Stanford is probably the same size apartment that I maybe would have had in New York, but it's significantly cheaper.
Yeah, because it's about to say.
It's a tiny apartment.
If you lived in New York, I mean, based on only the photos I've seen, I mean, that's like a $3,000-$4,000 apartment.
Oh, easily, yeah.
In New York. Yeah, easily.
Or I would say it would be like $3,000 in like Brooklyn or one of the other boroughs, but like it would definitely be $4,000 in New York.
My gosh.
Minimum.
Yeah. You live in Jersey.
Yeah.
You're staying in Jersey.
Rent is cheap.
Yeah, that's why I live in Westchester.
Yeah, but I've never wanted. I did live in the city at one point when I was going to school. I was living in one of the dorms and I didn't like it.
Yeah,
it's too much
going on.
Too much shit all the time. Yeah, I need to be able to disconnect from New York.
Right.
I looked in Westchester though, like when I was first moving here, and it's actually more expensive than Stanford. Like not much more, but like
I believe
that my place is like $200 cheaper than it would have been in Scarsdale or wherever.
Yeah, because Westchester, number one, it's
closer to the city.
It's good school districts and it's closer to the city. And so, like, especially...
Well, I care about the school districts right now.
Well...
I hear they call it the best Chester.
They do. A lot of people say that, and that has brought rent up quite a bit because people realized it's the best Chester. But, yeah, I mean, when you... Especially if you get close to the train station, like, those they start to slip as if they can charge... They start getting closer and closer to New York City prices. And they're like, well, it's right by the train. And you're like, yeah, but it's still... get out of here with that.
That's how the apartments are in Hoboken too.
Right.
I'm so lucky in mine. I mean, I think our landlord might just not be all there. Mm-hmm. So I'm paying significantly less than people normally would be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll get into it some other time. I think it's on YouTube anyway. I've talked about it on the radio before. My last landlord.
Yeah.
Who is, I think, a serial killer. But
he seemed like a sweetheart from what you told me.
He's the guy who got the big giant TV left in his apartment. Like, no, we'll leave this
You
here.
moved out of there because of him? Pretty much?
It sped up the process.
Yeah. It just contributed to the...
Yeah.
Well, a couple weeks ago we were talking about how now you're getting recognized in your building, so are you going to have to move soon?
Yeah. I think so.
Come over by me.
I don't think I'll do that.
No?
No. Yeah, I like...
You like Westchester?
I mean, I like Westchester, but I like to be left alone. That's the whole point of not living in the city, right? Yeah. Is to be left alone.
That's why I didn't like when I was living in the city, because there's too much stimuli. Now,
imagine if, like, anytime you get on the elevator, somebody's like, Adrian, what are we doing on the show tonight? You'd be like, I don't want to, like, on the elevator?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Oh, that sucks.
It sucks.
That's like when people ask, like, so, what kind of show is it?
Yeah.
What's the show about?
Right, I don't know. It's online. You could download it. It's fine. But don't you think that's probably going to happen to you very soon, I think, because not only, I mean, it's one thing, you have to be, it's a lot for it to happen in radio, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have a pretty big digital component. You have to, but TV is a whole different animal. You know what I mean? And now your face is going to be on the TV box.
I mean, that was something that I didn't really consider of when we were doing podcasting. Even though there's a video element, there's so many people that didn't know what I looked like. And I guess that's with radio too. So like, you can kind of be incognito until you start talking and someone's like, oh, your voice sounds familiar.
Right. Whereas now, like, Cathy's got a new show on the WWE's YouTube channel. It's an unnamed show, but Cathy is the host of it, and she goes over, like, the social media stuff that's going on in the world, WWE. It's actually a really good show. It's entertaining.
Thanks.
But I was researching yesterday, as I tend to do, and the WWE, and this surprised me, so it'll probably surprise you, is the 5th most watched YouTube channel in all of YouTube.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Really?
They just got the Diamond Award.
What's that?
It's like an award that it's for a certain amount of views, but like Taylor Swift was the first one to get it. And,
right.
Yeah.
I got to get that award.
That really doesn't shock me. Because anytime, first of all, they put everything up there.
Right.
Any significant thing that happens on Raw or SmackDown.
Well, they're so smart. They put up like 10 videos a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the wrestling fan base is rabid.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, I want to rewatch Shane coming off this fucking cell or whatever and destroying his body.
They've gotten smart enough, and Cathy, I'm sure you've seen this, to realize that, like, okay, like, I think this is what they're doing with Cathy, too. Like, they go, okay, what's popular with our product that other people are doing? Because we could just do that. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? If we can, and it's not taking away from other people necessarily. It's just like, this is an avenue that we can go down, too. Like, they see clips of every show ever is all over YouTube. Well, why don't we just put them in high res and put them on our YouTube channel? We could put clips of every single match we have. And so they put that out. Or like people who do YouTube shows where they're talking about like, oh, here's what happened this week, and it's kind of a goofy YouTube show. They're like, well, wait, if we just get somebody talented like Cathy Kelley, she can come in.
They've already done similar things.
Right,
before,
right.
So.
She can come in and we can do that show on our channel.
Yeah.
And the show, I was looking at it, it was up after 24 hours. 800,000 views.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
a lot of views.
That's quite a few views.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not too
Kind of
bad.
happy with it.
Right. But that's the type of thing where it's like, yeah, I could sit there and be like, it took the people in my building 5 years or however long to figure out that I was doing something in some form of multimedia. But, like, Cathy's got a week of anonymity left before, like, it's kind of everywhere.
Cathy's YouTube show.
Hmm?
You gotta get on our YouTube show.
Yeah.
I texted our producer afterwards, and I was just like, 800,000 views in 24 hours? That's a good jumping off point. I'm going to take over the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you will. Well, we have almost 800,000 views on this show. I mean, listens, yeah, on this show. I don't like to give out the numbers.
It's like views, but with your ears.
Right. And I actually count each hit as 2, because 2 ears. So,
I've heard that the show
yeah.
has 1 billion listeners.
That's what you've heard?
People have told me.
Well, it must be true then. This is internet people, right?
Yes.
We got
Okay,
the
well,
diamond play button on Spotify.
That's right. Well,
The SoundCloud.
yeah, that's right. SoundCloud, iTunes, however you're listening to this. I got a direct message from our friend Chris the teacher, who said, "I'm sorry to send you a direct message, but I'm having trouble with I'm having trouble with the Sam and Cathy feed. I keep hitting subscribe, and it keeps sending me back to the Sam Roberts Show feed." And I didn't send him a message back because it's one feed. You get both shows.
No.
You think maybe he was just trying to start a conversation?
I don't know.
2 for the subscribe of 1.
Right, exactly. So hit that subscribe button on iTunes. And every Monday, you'll get this show, and every Friday, you'll get Sam Roberts' show. Hit subscribe, rate, review, do whatever you do on podcasts. Also, SoundCloud and notsam.com is where everything is. We are, as we found out last week on Sam and Cathy, everything's out of the bag. Cathy is working for Sam Roberts Show and the WWE simultaneously, which is just incredible.
Yay.
And we're all so happy about it. So check out the YouTube show. If you watch wrestling, she is all over this week's episode of NXT. I mean, you can't turn that show on without seeing her high cheekbones.
I was so nervous because, like, people usually don't like recap shows.
Right.
Like, oh, this is the first time I'm doing NXT. I'll recap. When I was so excited because it's my favorite show.
Right,
so.
right. She was also on the Hall of Fame pre-show and the WrestleMania pre-show and the NXT TakeOver pre-show last weekend. So, yeah, I have a feeling that pretty soon it's going to be tough to avoid Cathy Kelley on WWE programming.
She's going to be a star.
So get used to it. And you don't have to like it, but you better learn to love it.
I hope people like
because
it.
It's the best. It's a 4 Horsemen quote, Cathy. Because it's the best thing going today. Woo! You like that, Adrian?
That was great.
Right. You see? You don't have to like it, but you better learn to love it. Best thing going today. It's the Horsemen. You should watch some old Horsemen promos, Adrian.
You know what I was going to watch that Attitude Era DVD that you gave me.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah.
That's it. But, I mean, just to watch a grown man yell at another grown man and take his shoe off his foot and shake it at him and go, "My shoes cost more than your house!"
I love pro wrestling.
It's the best.
I'm really... thank you.
It's the best.
Because you really fostered this in me.
Well, I thank Cathy Kelley because she is bringing it to an entire audience now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge. This is big stuff. Thank you both. Thank you all for downloading. Of course, Cathy, where can they find you on social media?
On Twitter at Catherine Kelley and on Instagram at Cathy Kelley.
Hey.
And all up on WWE's YouTube page.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you'd have to try to avoid Cathy. And Adrian, have you figured out a decent Twitter name?
Twitter is still a Radio Adrian 1.
No, so the answer is no.
Instagram is now I Am Adrian.
See?
Wait, so now it's different for each?
I'm trying to get the guy who has I Am Adrian on Twitter to give it.
That's not going to happen.
It's just very smart.
He doesn't tweet.
What Adrian did was he didn't like his Twitter name.
I made that when I was an intern, and you guys made fun of me for not having social media. And I was like, okay, I need something.
But it's nice and fluid now to go out of your way to make your Twitter and Instagram names different.
Well, I don't want them to be different.
Right. Well,
we
you know,
could come up with something better.
You know what you could have done to stop that from happening? Not changed your Instagram name.
Well, it's a stupid name.
It is a stupid name.
Can people tweet Adrian this week and tell him better names than
Right.
Yeah, give me some good Twitter names.
What about
I
this?
Am Adrian or Radio Adrian 1.
Stupid Adrian face. Not bad, right?
That's a good ring.
That actually would be funny if you're like, I'm stupid Adrian face on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
You should. It would get, see, this is, Adrian, you got too much pride for your own good. It would get people talking.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. You're right. I have too much pride to do that.
Stupid Adrian face is what be like, that's funny. People would be like, oh, I like that. It's endearing.
You should be #Adrian spelled out.
Right. Right.
On both.
I like that.
Or how about this? Adrian's got nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's going to
at Adrian's got nuts.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, guys. I'm not Sam on all forms of social media.
I got nuts.
Yeah, it's good. Except Snapchat. Not Sam Roberts on Snapchat, which, believe it or not, I took because Not Sam was taken, not because I thought it'd be fun to make things different.
No, really?
Yeah, no, yeah. Not Sam Roberts on Snapchat and Not Sam everywhere else.
People can see you not finding chicken jerky.
Yeah, did you see that snap yesterday, Adrian?
Which one?
I was left at Walmart. No chicken jerky. They every place I go, they got beef jerky, they got turkey jerky, they got teriyaki jerky, they got smoked jerky.
They've got jerky that gives you energy.
Not chicken jerky. No place has chicken jerky. It's so difficult to find.
I mean, you got Amazon.
Look, I'm trying to stop into a store to get a quick boost of protein. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not planning out my jerky in advance.
You just get out of a workout.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just got a pump on,
I was just
and
gonna
I
ask
needed to
that.
get a little protein. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I mean, if you're not getting protein in you,
It's a waste of a day, bro.
exactly, bro.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like how are you supposed to get swole if you don't have if you're not your protein intake is as important as anything else.
Burn cows, build muscle.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you every night, of course, tonight, whatever night you're listening to this, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, live on Sirius XM, XM 103, Sirius 206 for Sam Roberts Show, and back here for another Sam and Cathy on Sim and Cathy on
Sim and Cathy.
Sim and Cathy on Monday morning. So, bye.